Hello, and welcome to Transforming Language Education, the vodcast series where we will talk about the future of teaching, inquiry, and advocacy in language education. I'm Jen Crawford.
And I'm Rob Philback. Please like or subscribe if you want to join us in helping to transform language education.
All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to Transforming Language Education. And we're here with episode 2 with Estella Chen, who we're excited to be talking with. Estella is a graduate of our USC TESOL program, a longtime educator. And in this episode, we're really going to be focusing on her role as a founder and running a startup, MandarinX. And we look forward to talking with you about that. Estella, welcome. Maybe to kick it off, just, you know, you were a language teacher, university professor in English language. What prompted you to start MandarinX?
Oh, you just know. when things are here, you just know. I was videotaping myself a lot when I was teaching a group of students overseas. And then their levels were so very different, as varied. So I just, it's really like a MOOC, but back then I didn't realize that it's MOOC. So I just videotape, and then usually that was only like the background, like the blackboard background. I just wrote sentences on, and then pointing to that and saying, hey, this is a sentence pattern and vocabulary words. And the first students to preview and actually review. But then I just got myself out there and then in stores on the street. And I started to film a lot of real, like daily life scenarios.
Yes.
And eventually I just put everything all together as a proposal and sent it to edX. And they loved it. And they're like, hey, Estella, we need to talk. I'm like, great. So I just got that started. Wow, that was way back in 2014. It was 8 years. Wow, 8 years ago. Or 9, 8.
Yeah, about 8 years ago.
Oh my God. So my MandarinX is 8 years old. so that was back then. And I just got that started. And it's just all because that I feel like I have so many students, and it would be a waste of time if I continue, repeat everything for the vocabulary words. Especially for Chinese, it's so very difficult. And there's no way that you can use that even just the 50 minutes, right? With a huge group of class, no way. So, and I just got started. And then the first MOOC that we had was Basic Mandarin Level 1. I always remember that. I was so worried because that was my first time, doing something formal, and it's gonna to be presented to the world, because edX is worldwide. It's no longer like, 60 students in my class in Taipei. No, it's like you put yourself out there. So I was so very anxious back then. And then I was worried that nobody was going to sign up. And I was checking, the enrollments every 10 minutes. I'm like, God. But then the first MOOC reached out to more than 40,000 students. I was like, oh my God, people actually love it. And even until now, 8 years passed, we still have 2,000 to 3,000 students like actively, and then working with Mandarin, like Mandarin Chinese Level 1.
Yeah,
so Level 1 is so very popular even until now. So it's like, God, I never
Well,
I was never thought of that.
Maybe you could talk a little bit more. What is that signature approach that you think really made MandarinX, especially this Level 1 course, so very popular, with your initial 40,000 students and still today as something that's really filling the need?
Well, I think the right thing that I did back then was that, just like I said, stick to my personality, because I'm a fun person. Not funny, I'm a fun person. So when I was thinking of the dialogues, I didn't think of something super formal in the textbooks. Because if you want to communicate with somebody, right, even it's just, like I said, it's a survival. It's for people who can survive in Mandarin speaking areas. So that shouldn't be something like, oh, my name is Estella. I am blah, blah years old. So I put something like, hi, I'm Ben. I'm 22 years old and I don't have a girlfriend. So people love that. I feel like it's more, it's because the scenarios that I was the teacher, I was playing the teacher, right? And that was a beautiful teacher up there. And then that was a male student. And then he definitely wanted to, impress the teacher. But if you look at the textbooks in most of the, in a lot of, even just in China, in Taiwan, they would put, it's just way too normal. But again, you don't want to talk to, people who just read the textbooks. And also, I think I create green content, stays longer. It's like a green tree. So, and it's growing, it's not dying. Something super basic. It's just the sentence pattern. You definitely need to use I am, right? So back to the French. You gotta say je suis. It's je, right? Je suis. It's just I am. So things like that. Or we actually created another series, which is the prerequisite level for basic Mandarin level 1, because we realized that if you want to go deeper, you need to know a lot of things before you get to learn Chinese. So we put like 5 rules before you learn Mandarin Chinese, and that one was also very popular back then and even until now. So that was actually selected as one of thousands of courses, like basic Mandarin level 1 and the prerequisite level. These two are our top sales. They even now generate a lot of revenues from these 2 courses. So that can definitely prove that green content. So fundamental basics, and then people definitely need to refer back to when they need to move on to level 2, 3, or even more advanced business Chinese. Yeah, business Chinese is so very difficult, but they definitely need to degrade it a little bit to the prerequisites. So
it sounds like you have really addressed probably a gap, as it were, in the market, right? In terms of bringing the sort of communicative, scenario-based, real-life experiences to learn a language like Mandarin. I mean, is that fair to say? Or what was a problem or a gap or a challenge that you set out to solve initially with MandarinX?
Because MandarinX is a company. So the problem that I have, not as a teacher, as a founder and CEO, I lack money. So when I was teaching, and then because we will be able to compete with those companies, right? And then backed up by VCs. That was really back then. The problem is like the market, even for now, is still full of scattered pieces of information. And you just realize that the materials are not that scholarly, or even some of the materials are not even they're just not grammatically correct.
Right.
But they got a lot more visibility, right? And like your customers definitely know, oh, I want to go to that, even not just learning Mandarin for English theme. So that's always the problem. But after so many years passed by, we still focused on high quality. And
That's
then
great.
we just focused on specific target audience who care about really like refining their language skills, not just quick boost. So well, it's definitely nothing fancy, not really nothing fancy. The business model is always the MOOC, right? And then that would generate some of the the learners
Yeah.
who wanted to go further with one-on-one tutoring or joining our online webinar, and then they pay extra. But again, my audience know that MandarinX is something that quality
That's great.
control.
So it's
yeah.
so fascinating. Maybe as we end here, what would you say? Because there may be teachers out there that want to augment their teaching practice by doing something, maybe just, on the side, or maybe there are people that are entrepreneurially minded and are like, wow, I maybe could do something like that. I mean, you've obviously learned a lot through this process. Like, if you had to give a tip to people out there that might want to try something similar,
Yeah.
what would you tell them?
Number one, definitely stick to who you are, because you can't be anyone else, right? Because if people wanted to follow you, it's like a lot of influencers. They love, the influencers, the personality. So I would say people, well, even the teachers, they can be micro influencer. They just target a group of students or a group of target audience, and then figure out what you are really passionate about. Say, if you're passionate about teaching pronunciation, I'm actually thinking about doing that course to compare with the British, and then I can be like, Oxford. So I did that one for a channel here in Taiwan. It's New Taipei City Library. People love that, and then that's fun. So if you're passionate about teaching pronunciation, or you think that you wanted to talk more about grammatical points, and you can make like bit size, definitely bit size, nothing huge, anything small, simple, keep it sweet, small, within 3 minutes or 1 to 3 minutes, and talking about just one specific point. Say, I was talking about snack and snake, right? So it's just something. And then and that's also the green content. When people wanted to what was the thing, the refreshment? Oh, snack. And then it's not snake. So when you want to try to eat a snack, you gotta open your mouth. So that's how I tell the students here, and then they remember that. So just linking to what you're really good at. Just start small. Everybody can do this. I mean, being an entrepreneur it's just a slogan. Until you actually up on that, do it, and then you're an entrepreneur, and then it's easy just work on that. And then I think for language teachers, it's really easy to get small things going.
That's great.
So it's your joy is just comes through so clearly, your authenticity and joy in language teaching, and then sharing this more broadly in your work with MandarinX. Thank you for sharing this journey. It's so inspiring. I'm Jen.
I'm Rob.
Thanks for listening. And Estella, thanks for talking with us today.